Is Wicked too much for the big screen? As an expert in music theory, as a professional art critic, as someone who has seen countless musicals and movies, I will react and I will spoil. But first, let's react to the trailer. So she's green and she goes to what looks like a witch school, I guess. It's like Hogwarts, reminds me of Hogwarts or Wednesday Addams School. I know the original Wizard of Oz off by heart almost, so I was excited about this for the last couple decades when it was just a musical. All I know about it is it tells the other side of the story, like what if the evil witch was actually not so evil after all. Glinda the Good Witch comes off as a spoiled blonde bimbo ditz who bullies the Green Witch, and a goat shows up and he's a teacher. So I'm guessing that's not in the original play, whereas it was probably Hogwartized. Oh, and it was a book before it was a musical. So it looks visually spectacular. The big question is whether the music is any good. There's going to be a lot of character growth between the Good Witch, the Glinda, the Blonde Witch, and I'm not going to say the Black Witch, the Green Witch. And I guess they're going to eventually become friends, sort of. And they're going to exploit the Green Witch and try to turn her into a villain for political reasons, for the Wizard of Oz's political reasons. The first 10 minutes. So it starts off with them announcing that the Wicked Witch is dead. It shows the Wicked Witch's hat. A bunch of her evil monkeys, they break through the glass window of her castle. They fly around and you get a panorama of Oz. And you see Dorothy and everybody, and the lion and the scarecrow and the Tin Man walking down the road with the broom. And then Glinda shows up at Munchkin. It has to be Munchkin Land. And she sings a lovely little song about how great it is that the Wicked Witch is dead. And it's just funny to me that they didn't hire midgets to be Munchkins, because you can't do that anymore, and all the dwarf actors are really happy about that one. Thanks, Peter Dinklage. You're the most hated amongst the community of little people. They must hate him so viciously. I bet they don't even call them Munchkins, because that's considered to be a derogatory word. You can't even use the word Munchkin. Then one of the Munchkins goes to Glinda, "Are people born evil? How do they become evil?" And then Glinda starts telling this story, and then we're at the beginning of the story of this movie. So the mother of the Wicked Witch goes cheating on her husband with some guy, and they're drinking this green stuff, and I guess it's got to be alcohol. So she's partying and sleeping with this guy. She's cheating on her husband, and then she gets pregnant. She gives birth, and the baby's green. So that's fetal alcohol syndrome, and the baby has telekinetic powers, and the parents say to cast it away, get it away from us. They abandon the kid, and it's raised by a kind, gentle mama wolf. The second 10 minutes, I'm going to be reviewing these in 10-minute increments. The movie's an hour and 40 minutes long. So now, as a school kid, whatever, as like a 6-year-old, she's telling a friend of hers the story of the Wizard of Oz and how he'll grant you all these wishes. And then a bunch of kids come up and start bullying the littler girl. So the Wicked Witch, that's what we'll call her, she uses her telekinesis to throw rocks at them. So she's, fighting back against the bullies. And then we flash forward to after the Wicked Witch is dead. And the Munchkins bring in an effigy of wood of the Wicked Witch, and Glinda lights fire to it, and they all sing a happy song about how no one loves the wicked. And then Glinda says, well, I got busy things to do. I got to go see the wizard and blah, 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 so, I'm out of here. And then someone comes up and goes, but isn't it true that you were her friend? She's like, well, what? And she goes, yeah, our paths did cross at school. And then it flashes back to when they met at school. This movie has very good pacing so far. The music isn't so good so far, and I don't have my hopes up, because most musicals have terrible music. And then the title Wicked comes up, and I thought they should have added, or How I Got My Bubble, because there's because how did Glinda get her bubble that she rides around? And then so she goes to school. Glinda goes to school, and she meets Buck, and he says he's from Munchkinland, and I'm like, oh boy, you're gonna get in trouble for that one. You got to keep thinking about all the real life Munchkins that are like, damn, that was our role. We were supposed to be the Munchkins. We got screwed with the Lord of the Rings. We got screwed with Snow White, and now we're screwed. We don't get to be Munchkins. Yeah, so all the characters, they got black people, they got Asian people, they got chubby people. Why don't they have any little people? I mean, this is seriously offensive. And then the Wicked Witch's sister comes up in a wheelchair. And I'm like, even wheelchair people are in the movie, but no little people. I mean, what's worse, having little people being presented as magical creatures, or having them not be presented at all? And then their father comes up, and he goes to the girl in the wheelchair, the younger sister. He goes, I gave you a present. And it's a box, and it's like these beautiful silver shoes. And I'm like, wait, are you joking? She's in a wheelchair. Is that a joke? Because that's like giving a blind person a TV set, or like a Blu-ray, or giving an iPod to a deaf person. Next year he'll buy her a subscription for dancing lessons. Minutes 20 to 30. So Wicked Witch of the West and all the students, I guess, are introduced to their professors, and one of them's a goat, one of them's some kind of bird. And they're like, so yeah, welcome to Shiz. This is where we have our Shiz education. And I'm like, what the hell's Shiz? Is that an acronym? And I looked it up, and the town is called Shiz. And I'm like, how was I supposed to know that? And it sounds a little too much like shit. Welcome to shit. So then the Wicked Witch, her name is Elphaba. She accidentally uses her telekinesis in front of everybody, so everybody reacts. But then Miss Marble, the Asian actress from Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, she's one of the professors. She covers for Elphaba for doing the telekinesis and says that she did it. And then she says that Elphaba and Glinda they're going to be roommates. So we can already see that Glinda really, really wants to learn magic, but has no talent, and Elphaba has tons of talent. And Glinda's been like sucking up to Madame Marbles, and Marbles is just ignoring her and whatever, get lost. And then she goes up to Elphaba and she's like, I want to teach you. You will be my only student. And so Miss Marbles says, I'm going to train you to be a Jedi. And then we get our first full-blown song about once I meet the wizard. Because not only does she want to train her, she also wants to introduce her to the wizard. It's like, holy shit, she just went straight up the fast track. And she says in her song that she's hoping the wizard will degreenify her. Degreenify. Minutes 30 to 40. So if Elphaba goes to the apartment or whatever that her and Glinda are to share, and Glinda's taken over like 90% of the whole apartment, but she saved this tiny little space for Elphaba. Oh, and the professor, the Asian lady, her name isn't Madame Marble, it's Madame Morable. And then they do a cute little montage song of them living together in the same room and how they hate each other. And the song continues then into the classrooms and the cafeteria and the whole school setting. And basically the whole school, all the students are on Glinda's side because she's pretty, and they're against Elphaba because she's got green skin. And I'll be honest, if I was one of them, I'd be like, no, I don't want to be around anybody with green skin. That's weird. And I'd totally be with I'd go for the hot blonde chick. Minutes 40 to 50. So at the end of the song, Glinda notices Elphaba bonding with Madame Morable, which deeply upsets her. So it's kind of an interesting dynamic, right? You got the hot, spoiled brat who never had to work for anything, but she's got no talent whatsoever. And then the ugly duckling that has always had to work and never got any attention from anybody, but she's got all the talent. It's a Mozart Salieri thing. So anyways, they go to class, and Glinda is making fun of the professor who's a goat. And you would think that you'd get kicked out of class if you did that, but okay, not in this school. And the goat starts talking about history and how in the past animals used to sing and study physics and stuff, but there's not as many animals around anymore. And then he flips his chalkboard and somebody vandalized it and wrote, "Animals should be seen, not heard." I don't know how the goat is supposed to run a class if the students are all allowed to make fun of him for the whole class. So then Alphaba does her her teaching Jedi lessons with Madame Morrible, and it becomes obvious that her telekinesis only seems to come out when she gets angry. So then Alphaba eavesdrops on the goat professor who goes to have a meeting with the other animals, and they're talking about how animals are losing their ability to speak, and they're thinking of leaving Oz, and they're worried it's like some kind of conspiracy or something. And they kind of sing a song, but like they'll sing two like lyrics, and then they'll go back to talking, and then they'll sing another two lyrics, and then they'll go back to talking, which I don't really enjoy. It happens a lot in musicals, but I don't like it very much. Minutes 50 to 60. And then on her way back from the goat's house, she runs into who must be her love interest. It's a guy on a horse, and I think the horse talks. Oh, but then it's announced on the PA system at school that Prince Figaro of Tiguri has come from Winky. So that's who her love interest is, Prince Figaro of Tigger, from the fabled town of Winky. And you just know that the Ariana Grande, what's her name, Glinda, is gonna like have the hots for him, but Prince Figaro is gonna have the hots for what's her name, Alphaba, and that'll be a love triangle to add to the drama, the tension, the hatred between the two. So Glinda guides Prince Figaro of Tigura through the school, and then he starts singing and everybody's in love with him, especially the guys. So I guess every guy's gay in Oz, and he just sings this dashing song while the women and men all ogle at him. They're just so enraptured by him. And I may be wrong, but I think all the munchkins are gingers. So have gingers replaced little people as fantasy characters? So then you could have Snow White and the Seven Gingers. Minutes 60 to 110. So Glinda, the little munchkin says, he's not really little. The what do we call munchkins now? The ginger. The ginger says, hey, can I get a dance with you at the dance? And she goes, why don't you dance with that girl in the wheelchair? Hey, actually, she could wear her shoes. So she's a very manipulative, it's not a very nice thing to do, I guess. It's like if you say, like, can I buy you dinner? Can I buy you dinner tonight? You say, why don't you go buy that cripple dinner instead? Wouldn't that be a nice thing to do? Why don't you take that crack addict out for dinner? So Prince Figaro falls in love with Ariana Grande, and she falls in love with him, and they're all happy. And that's where we're at. And then Glinda gives what's her name, Alphaba, the black witch hat, because she secretly thinks it's disgusting looking, and it's one of her things that her mother made for her. And she's like, I wouldn't give it to my worst enemy. And then she gives it to Alphaba and tells Alphaba to come to the Oz Dust dance. So just to make a fool of her, I guess. And she sings a whole song about the hat. My new theory is that Mr. Prince Figaro from Winky is going to fall out of love with Ariana Grande when he realizes how a scheming, mean person she is. And he's going to fall in love with Alphaba when he realizes how deep she is and good she is on the inside. Minutes 110 to 120. And so Miss Morrible shows up at the dance, and she says to, what's her name, Glinda, here's a wand. I'm going to teach you, and it's only because Alphaba insisted on it. She threatened she'd quit otherwise. And like this is the thing that Glinda's always wanted, right? And it's obviously because Alphaba was grateful for the disgusting witch hat that Glinda gave her. So then Glinda enters wearing the black hat, looking like the Wicked Witch of the West. Everybody starts laughing at her. She takes the hat off. She does some weird dance with no music, and then puts the hat back on. Glinda says to Figaro, "I feel terrible for her." So Glinda goes up on stage with, what's her name, Alphaba, and then she starts doing the dance with Alphaba, and then they smile at each other and they hug, and Alphaba's got tears, and it's actually very touching. And then everybody basically accepts the whole situation, and they start copying the dance that Alphaba originally did. So this is a major turning point, because this is the first time that Alphaba and Glinda have been nice to each other and connected on a deeper level. So Alphaba and Glinda, it's so hard to remember these stupid names. They go back to their apartment, and they're like, let's tell each other a secret. And she goes, my secret is I'm going to get married to Prince Figaro, only he doesn't know yet. And then she goes, now you tell me a secret. And she goes like, what? She goes, well, why do you sleep with this green bottle under your pillow? And she goes, that was the bottle my mother was drinking. Well, essentially, she says that was my mother's. That's the bottle that gave me fetal alcohol syndrome, and it made my skin green. And then Alphaba says her secret is that her father hates her, and then she gets into like why her father hates her, which really doesn't matter because it doesn't make any sense. The truth is her father's just a jerk. Minutes 120 to 130. So Glinda and what's her name, Alphaba, are still having their little heart-to-heart. Then Glinda says, now that we're friends, I'm going to make you my new project, because you're less fortunate than me, and everybody's less fortunate than me. You suck, so I'm going to make you better. I'm going to make you cool like me, basically. And she sings a whole song about it. Yeah, the song must be called Popular, because she's I'm going to teach you to be popular. Popular. Then they go to school the next day with the goat teacher, and he goes, I'm not going to be teaching anymore. I'm no longer permitted to teach. And then a bunch of cops, if you want to call them that, come in, and they take him out by the horns, like, quite violently. Minutes 130 to 140. So then they go meet your new professor, and the new guy comes in with a cage, with a cute little baby tiger in the cage. And he says, this is going to prevent animals from learning how to speak. And what's her name? Alphaba says, we got to do something. Something's got to be done. And then she, in passion, she has a bouquet of poppies and she slams them. And then the poppies explode and they make everybody fall asleep. The only two that don't fall asleep are Prince Figaro and Alphaba. And Prince Figaro takes the animal out of the cage and they take off with the animal. And a nice touch here, they find some bicycles, and the bicycles have a basket in the back, one of them. And they put the tiger cub in the back of the basket, and she rides with it, just like the Wicked Witch did with Toto in the original. And the prince and Alphaba, they sit in the woods with the cougar, whatever the hell you want to call it, and they have a little moment. I don't know what to call it. I don't know if they're into each other or not. And like any guy would, if they're in the woods alone with a girl with green skin, he takes off, and she sings a song about how, you know, he could be that boy, but I'm not that girl. Basically, I guess the gist of the song is that he's too good for her. She'll never meet a guy. I mean, there's a lot of eligible munchkins out there. You know, I've had to accept the fact that that supermodels aren't into me. And, you know, it's really sad. I always tell people I'm like a 60-year-old alcoholic homeless person sitting on the sidewalk with his pants, pissed his pants, and all these attractive women walk by, and I look at them and I'm just like, you wish, in your dreams. Minutes 140 to 150. So she's wrapping up her song about how she knows she's not good enough for the hot guy, but she's not going to settle for a munchkin. Okay, so we're at a crucial plot point, I think, because a balloon comes saying that, from they finally hearing back from the wizard. So I think things are going to get better, and because they're going to go to Oz or something pretty soon. I mean, that'd be good, because it's been a bit like, all right, we've had enough time. It's been getting boring a little bit. Spending too much time in this school. Yeah, the last half hour has kind of lagged. However, you know what? For a movie that's 2 hours and 40 minutes long, it's done pretty well. So Alphaba gets an invitation to go see the Wizard of Oz. She goes to the train station, and there's the Oz train cometh, and then dude Figaro comes, and he seems to be interested in. It's very ambiguous whether he's interested in Alphaba or not. He seems to be less interested in Glinda all of a sudden. And I gotta say that one of the delights of this movie is that it has a lot of Easter eggs, for lack of a better word. Like the poppies showing up, and you're very interested in like where is this going, right? Like how is this going to lead into the Wizard of Oz that we know? Because it's really filling out a really good sort of prequel, a backstory to the Wizard of Oz. And what's to become of Prince Figaro? Because he never occurs in the Wizard of Oz, so maybe he dies or something. Like a good story should. There's a lot of questions. Does Oz know what's going on with the animals? How they're trying to like cage the animals? Where's this subplot with the animals going to go? And it's also refreshing to see a live action fairy tale type story that hasn't been already done 20 times before. And then at the last minute, Alphaba says to Glinda, "Get on the train, come with me." And she's like, "Oh, okay." Okay. But shit's about to get really good, I think. I bet that the rest of the movie's going to be amazing. Now, thinking back, one issue is that I don't recall Glinda ever getting one lesson from Madame Morrible. So she said she was going to teach her, but that never happened. And secondly, now that they get on the train, right? And then 10 seconds later they're in Oz, and it just shows how close Oz is. It's like it's 2 blocks away. Minutes 150 to 2 hours. So they arrive in Oz, and of course there's a song about, like, welcome to Oz, here we go. This is Oz, la-di-da. So you get to see the wide assortment of people in the Emerald City. Again, tall, short, chubby, skinny, black, white, Asian. But there's no little people. All the little people are out of jobs. All because of Peter Dinklage. Talk about being underrepresented. But I guess the land of Oz doesn't have little people. Okay, wait. Just when I said that, 2 little people walked by wearing green. But that's just wrong, because that's like saying they're leprechauns. So they should take that part out. Yeah, I think the music in this movie is the worst part. The songs aren't catchy, and they're not clever, and they're not memorable. So they go in to see Oz, and at first you see like the smoke and mirror thing that he's got, but then like almost immediately he just comes right out and goes, forget about all that stuff, I have to do that, whatever. I was surprised by that. I thought that maybe he'd hide it for a little while. 2 hours to 2:10. So now we're gonna find out what we've been wondering the whole movie. What's Oz about? What's about to happen? Because obviously something big's gonna happen right now. And then Jeff Goldblum, Oz, sings a song, and I don't know. Fine. It's not bad. It's not good. It's fine. Then Madame Morrible shows up, and she hugs Alphaba, and she looks at Glinda, and she's like, "Ew, I knew you'd be here, you jerk." Like, gives her an ugly look. So she's obviously in on Oz not being, a god. So they show her this book called the Grimoire. It's like an ancient wisdom book or something. I haven't been paying attention maybe enough to know what the hell this is. And then they're suggesting she cast a spell on it. Oh, and before that he asks her if she wants to not be green, and she said no, she wants him to help the animals. And he's like, "I thought you might say that." And then she uses her power to open the book, and they're like amazed, and Oz says, "Oh my god, it opened for her." And she seems to be speed reading through the pages. Turns out to be a spell book, and then Oz says that his monkey pal always wishes that he could fly. Do you have a spell for that? And Madame Morrible goes, don't worry if you can't read it. I've been working on it for years. I can't read this. It's ancient language. And what's her name? Old Green Face. She can read it right away. And she turns the monkey into a flying monkey. But the monkey's in a lot of pain with the wings, and she's like, how do I reverse it? And she goes, what's her name? Mrs. Morrible goes, you can't reverse it. And then Alphaba finds out that all of the monkeys who work for Oz, all of them are growing wings now. Minutes 2:10 to 2:20. And then Lord Oz lets it slip. He goes, oh, these flying monkeys are going to be great for spying on seditious animal activities. And Greenface goes, wait a second, it's you. You've been screwing the animals over all along, Oz. And then Madame Morrible's like, yeah, well, she doesn't say this, but she's basically like, yeah, me too. I've known all along too. And Goldblum basically says, well, we need a really good enemy. That makes people happy. So he's basically saying he wants to make the animals the enemy. Okay, how does that fit into the Wizard of Oz? And Alphaba goes, that's why you need me. You don't have any power. You can't read the book. You can't make spells. And Oz is like, yeah, that's true. This was not where I was hoping the story would go. I don't see how it fits into the original Wizard of Oz if Oz is actually, the wizard is actually not a good man. Because he said, at the end of the Wizard of Oz, he said, I'm not a bad man, I'm a very good man, I'm just a bad wizard. Well, you're not a good man if you want to wage cruelty to animals. So then Alphaba runs away with the book, and then Madame Morrible says to the monkeys, don't let her get away, and the monkeys go off to get her. And then they get into a hot air... Alphaba and Glinda get into a hot air balloon. And then the hot air balloon gets popped. So then dude goes on the PA, and by dude I mean Madame Morrible. At this point she's horrible. And she's saying, her green skin is a manifestation of her inner ugliness, and she's an enemy of of all of us, of Oz. And then Madame Horrible calls her a wicked witch. Minutes 2:20 to 2:30. So then Greenface and Blondie have a little song where they sing, hey, why don't you go back and apologize? It's okay to be cruel to animals. We can have everything we want. And Greenface says, hey, look, she sings, hey, look, I'm not going to apologize. They should be scared of me because, I've got all the powers anyways. And it's not cool to be cruel to animals. This shouldn't have been a musical. You want to see a musical? Watch Annie. That's an amazing musical in terms of movies. Or watch The Wizard of Oz if you want to see a musical. Or watch Mary Poppins. That's a good musical. But there isn't very much music in this. So then she does a spell so that she can defy gravity. That's what the song was. I will try defying gravity. So she does a spell so that she can defy gravity. But the thing is, she has telekinesis, so technically she can already fly, right? And Blonde Ditz says, well, where are your wings? You read the spell. You don't have the wings. It didn't work. And then a broom floats up. And I'm thinking, is that the telekinesis? Or is that the defying gravity spell? And she says, hey, Glinda, why don't you come with me on the broom? And Glinda says, no, I don't think so. Cruelty to animals is fine. I just want to get married to the hot guy, blah, blah, blah. You know me. I've always been a ditz. What were you expecting? And Glinda runs away, and Alphaba looks sad, and it's like, well, come on, honey. Like, I know you're young, but You know, she never had any principles. She was always a ditz. You know, you had some chuckles. You know, it's worries. Don't be surprised. People do that. This is life. I mean, Glinda. Like, look at you like reading books, right? Check out the DSM. Glinda has shown every sign of being a narcissist. And they both have some last words where they sing to each other about how they're friends. I hope you're happy, my friend. And I don't know, man. Like, if you want to kill animals, I don't think you're my friend anymore. They should have released this movie as The Joker Part 2. Because it's another story of a villain as the protagonist. And it's a musical, like Folie à Deux tried to be. So this should have been The Joker Part 2. And then she hovers while holding the broom. As though the broom is... I mean, is it the broom that's keeping her hovering, or is she just levitating? It's unclear. You know, it's a pretty good movie. Aside from the whole thing about cruelty to animals, I don't see where that came from. I'd be curious to see if it's in the actual original musical or the book. Minutes 230 to 240. If you took out the whole cruelty to animals subplot, nothing would be changed or weakened. Everything would be strengthened. So I just don't see the point. I mean, if anything, it just pisses people like me off, because I have a cat who's sitting right beside me right now, and I don't like hearing about cruelty to animals. Like, you're telling me the Wizard of Oz and Madame Morrible, they want to go to war against animals? Like how bad is that? And then are you telling me that Dorothy ends up helping them in that quest? Is that where this is going? I love a good villain like Darth Vader or Darth Sidious. But you're telling me this villain wants to kill kittens? Wants to wage a war against kittens? That's too much. That's just way too much. Okay, then it ends at 2 hours, 31 minutes. It says to be continued because, of course, this is just part 1. This is during the actual live show that they have the intermission. But I'll watch the credits because in case there's a end credit scene. Overall, I think it's the best fantasy movie, kids fantasy movie I've seen in a long time. Live action fantasy movie I've seen in a long time. And Disney must be jealous as hell. Okay, so there's no end credit scene. Look forward to the second one. I guess I'd give it like a 6 out of 10. Only because there's been like real incredible musicals like Annie, for example, which would be like an 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10. Mary Poppins, which is my favorite movie of all time, which is like a 9 out of 10. All I can say is they better figure out where this cruelty to animals subplot figures in to the whole thing. Because the Cowardly Lion is technically a lion, so... If you support gays, click like. If you respect blacks, comment. If you think women are people too, click the notification bell. And if you care about sick children, subscribe.